Hey everybody, this is Daniel Lee, also known as Tafokints, and we're here to bring another episode of Melee Science. And I'm going to talk about the larger community and the tournament landscape in 2017. Now, if we look at the growth of Melee in the past few years, I just want to give a quick recap of where we've been and where we're going. So if you remember in 2013, we really had just Apex and Evo, and we had a lot of breaks in between the events. And over time, we've had a more complete schedule where we're seeing more events at every time of the year. In 2015, we had some dry seasons where we didn't really have any exciting events to look at from a national major scale. But in 2016, I actually think we did a really good job fulfilling the needs of the community by providing content for most of the year. Now, I know that we've had a 2 to 3 week lull where we really haven't had anything big in the past couple of weeks. And we have Genesis coming up ahead. However, people are a little bit skeptical and a little bit worried on behalf of the health of the community. And the reason being is that if we look at Genesis 3 attendance numbers and Genesis 4, we actually have a downturn in attendance. While that may be true, we went from about 1,828 Melee singles entrants to about 1,690, give or take, depending on last-minute registration. It is a downturn, but I'm not too concerned. And here's why. There's a couple of factors for this. So first of all, Genesis 3, the price was really cheap. I believe it was $30 for early bird. They raised the prices for this year largely because they undercharged for all the benefits that the attendees were going for, and also just in general, they were under budget for all their operations. So that's the first reason. And also because Genesis 4 is not on Martin Luther King weekend or whatever the weekend that would have a 3-day weekend in January, more people have to take more days off for Genesis 4. More people are starting school, so that's a big reason why people can't attend, and that's gonna affect the numbers. That being said, you look at our Twitch viewership in terms of the volume of hours we're getting from viewers, it's actually gone up a lot in 2016. Although you could look at Evo year to year and see the spikes, I believe we hit over 200K in total. What's more important is that because we're streaming more large events, we're having a lot more viewership over a larger window of time. And I know that we typically use peak viewership as a key metric to see if our game is growing, but I think it's also important to look at the volume of hours that our viewers are looking at, and it has grown quite a bit in the past year. So don't let your worries go too unchecked. If you look at other metrics, we are still, healthily growing, maybe not as much as we like, from 2013 to 2014 to 2015, but we're still growing. Now, of course, the big issue, if you follow other esports with CSGO in particular, they had the PEA versus the ESL related issues. And largely that became a result of just oversaturation of events where teams have to decide which league they want to join. And that's why the PEA was birthed, so that they can kind of control that. And that's actually a good problem to have. Now, as Smash reached that point in 2017, I know a lot of people felt like there was event fatigue or there were too many events and that we were worried about conflict. Yes, we're growing. Yes, more events want to, host Smash, but we're not at the point where we have these exclusive leagues that players have to choose from because we just have so many events. But it's still a problem we should probably worry about up ahead. I know that in certain months in 2017, certain months haven't been fully booked yet, but I do know that a lot of months, especially in the late spring and summer, are hotly contested for tournament dates. So don't worry about there being a lack of events or too many events yet, although it is a growing concern that we have as a community because storylines are so hard to write when you have to write Hungrybox versus Armada every event, and one event's not really terribly more significant than another. It's really hard to write the same thing over and over again. So I really do hope that by 2018, we have some sort of series like Capcom Cup that allows us to build our narratives and our storylines and also prep our players so that they can build towards something towards the end of the year. And I really do believe this will help burnout up ahead in the future, because if you win one event and you're putting in 110%, but then you find out 2 weeks later you have to prepare 110% for that event too, and that you can't take any events off, that's incredibly tiring for the players. And although we do want them to participate, having every event seem like it's hypercritical is not really good for the health of the community. So I really do hope that there is something that builds up into a really nice playoff cup type of structure. And on the Smash 4 side of things, 2GG has announced their own circuit where they have an additional $100,000 in prize bonuses, with $50K going towards the end of the year and $50K towards other events within the year. So hopefully, we see something similar in Melee up ahead. If we had a league that gave players a proper focus on which events are super important, it will help facilitate their year and prevent burnout. That's one of my big wishes. But overall, for people that are concerned about viewership and, and attendance numbers dropping, I wouldn't be too worried. Granted, we do have more events, and collectively speaking, a lot more people are spending more to go to more events. Viewership at peak hasn't really grown significantly, but the total viewership hours for Smash has grown a lot. So I think we're in a pretty good state. I know a lot of people like to say doom and gloom. For the community, it's like, oh, are we gonna finally, downturn? I still think we're relatively healthy, and we're still gonna hit the numbers we're seeing in 2016. So those are my thoughts about the Melee community in particular for 2017 and the state of the community at the competitive level.